Looks like we're all here. So I'm going to open this special meeting of the Conservation Commission on Saturday, February 28th. I guess first item of business should be roll call. Eleanor, can folks hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Eleanor? Jennifer?
Here.
Okay. Eleanor? Eleanor's computer just crashed, so we're going to have to wait for her to come back on. Um, Till she comes back on, we don't have a quorum.
Right.
I'm out of the house and working off my phone, so I will have to rely on perhaps Ethan can post the language we're working through as we go through it on a share screen. Jennifer, have you had a chance to work through what Bill sent over?
I've looked through all the comments, yeah, and I've jotted down my notes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we could work through his either from Ethan's machine or your machine, either one. Unfortunately, I'm at a bit of a loss because I had friends end up visiting and admit Eleanor's back.
Okay.
So we can wait for her to join. Okay,
Um,
you're
yeah, I'm
back.
happy to do it either way. I guess I can pull up the
I would suggest we work through the comments that we have, which were fairly consolidated between Bill and Ethan and Tom.
yeah.
Um, so let's work through that one.
Paul,
Yes.
before you begin, could I ask or make a suggestion?
Okay.
So when you're scheduling meetings and you're going to schedule a meeting on the weekend, could you please contact me ahead of time because that has implications. Judy is part of a collective bargaining agreement, so there are different stipulations for her work week and what her
Mm,
compensation is based on that, as well
okay.
as his work hours. So I would really appreciate it if you could give me a heads up so I could let you know what the additional costs will be.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that issue um,
Which is why we
until now.
schedule meetings on the weekends.
I see. Well, okay. Are we presenting an issue then in terms of cost for doing this today?
Not for today, but going forward, I would strongly recommend not having weekend meetings.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll have to try to be efficient in use of the time today. So let's move in. Eleanor, you're present now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I guess Jennifer, if you can bring up your screen, share your screen with the proposed language we have. I think that's probably the best way. We should just work through what we have in front of us.
Okay, yeah. What I'll put up is I'll put up the document that has Bill's and Tom's comment, Ethan's comments.
Yeah, I think that's the best one. Yes.
Mhm.
I'll put on my glasses so I can see it.
And can I make a suggestion that we
Yep.
we kind of take a once through and go through the edits that we agree with, and then we can come back and spend a little more time on the things that warrant more
We might,
discussion.
we might have concerns about. All right, let's do that
Yeah.
because I'm not sure we'll get through more than that. The first part of your proposal, Eleanor. So
Okay.
let's do that.
Okay.
Um,
Tom's.
yeah, I think Tom's first comment was about the asterisks, and I think the asterisks are noting things that we're adding, right?
Yeah, but we can delete them.
I think
It's
we
not.
should.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Moving on down.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I guess I'm gonna take the notes on how these are decided.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, actually, one moment. Okay, I'm editing. Reply. Delete asterisks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm gonna have to grab a second device so that I can see my own comments and this at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry,
Okay.
just one moment.
That's fine. I think the section suggestion for the change in the language at the end of section 1 works fine for me.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So I'll accept this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then there was a comment to capitalize Commonwealth from Tom. That's straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's this suggestion here in first bullet that we essentially eliminate the discussion of 100 feet because it's the resource and the 100 feet is not a resource area. That's the suggestion. I think that's correct, isn't it? We're not trying to the 100 feet is a buffer area, and the resource and the resource areas are the wetlands. Correct?
Yeah, I think a lot of bylaws say or within the 100 feet. Why don't we come back to this one? Because I think we can just spend
Okay.
more time discussing it. And I think it'll make maybe more sense, once we see his other
Okay.
changes.
And then vernal pool and vernal pool habitat, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Wait, where are
Okay.
we?
Yeah, so I guess
Third bullet.
okay.
So
Okay.
we'll hold
We
on
accept,
the first bullet and accept the second.
okay, for me, it's easier to go comment by comment. So this is the next comment, the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act, and the regulations of the Department of Environmental Protection. So do you want to accept this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this is one that we'll come back to probably.
The first bullet, yes. We can
Okay.
accept the comment in the second bullet.
Um, okay, accept that comment. And we'll add the okay. Okay. Is this one we want to come back to?
That's the one we want to come back to.
Okay.
But then the second bullet will deal with, we can accept.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
The correction of the capitalization is fine.
Okay. Um, That's probably fine. Well, that's Tom Allen's suggestion too. Okay. Salinity distribution, do we want to come back to this one?
Oh, we do not have any salt water bodies in our town, do we?
Right, there, we don't. And I think where this is going to come in is, for example, if like a new road is proposed, um,
Mm-hmm.
would we basically think have the authority to deny like a road where it will change, salt will go into the wetland?
I think we
Hmm.
would create an order of conditions that says you can't, you know,
Yeah.
move salt. So I don't think it's necessarily we have to call it out if he has a problem with that. And I don't remember him making this comment before, but
Okay, so you all want to accept this deletion?
sure.
I think we could, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is
Okay.
that
Do we want?
application of pesticides or herbicides, was that new or is that
No, that's existing.
I
okay?
was okay with
Is there,
just taking it out because there are exemptions for, if you think about like the power company and the work they
mhm.
did. Um, and so it does outline sort of what those exemptions are. I think if this is going to be a pain point for Bill, I'm happy to remove that.
Yeah, I'm also okay with removing this.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I think for
I
right
think the
now, we'll
next
just
two where
see.
you scrolled past a bunch, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. I'm just,
Bank and date of issuance. Did you jump
I
ahead?
think the issue is, are they identical with language in the WPA?
yes.
Yes.
And that's the argument is don't put in anything that's duplicating the language of the WPA because we say that anything not called out is essentially done as the WPA presents it, right?
Hmm.
Right.
So I think his suggestion is take those out because they are identical to the WPA.
Okay. Well, hopefully the WPA doesn't redefine those. But yeah, I'm okay.
Now the next one in three, what's the
Okay.
It looks like this one's talking about presuming that vernal pools are vernal pools, but the fact that isolated wetlands would be a separate thing. I think part of the language, it sounds like, calls isolated vernal pools as a default. Then you have to um, prove that presumption. What Bill is suggesting is keeping the wetlands as separate and not presuming that vernal pools unless you see something you think that's for sure a vernal pool.
so in other words, keep the term isolated wetland. Don't presume that's a vernal pool and separately define vernal pool, which we've done here down in 8, correct?
Yes. And then he's
Okay.
suggesting a minimum size to help differentiate that.
So can we come back to this one and just talk about it a little bit more?
Sure.
I'm
All right.
comfortable with his addition. This shall not include best management practices used for control and treatment of stormwater, swimming pools, and artificially lined pools or ponds. Are you guys okay with that one?
I'm okay with
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's come back, and I think there's also a recommendation here about putting a size limit on isolated wetlands. Is also part of this comment.
Yeah, but we've been round about the size limit question for a long time, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
We have, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna accept that.
Yep. Person's okay. Intermittent stream.
I think we can delete that last part.
Yeah. I think so too. Does that make sense, Paul? Essentially, we're not going to be regulating the parts of streams that go underground, but only kind of
Yes.
images.
Yeah, that seemed,
Yeah, I don't think we want to do
yeah.
that. I liked Bill's addition of resource area values, actually.
I think this is for rare species right above it.
Oh, I'm talking about
that
bullet
definition.
7, the term. Oh,
What's the issue with rare species?
okay, we jumped ahead. Sorry.
I was just looking at my comment there, whether you should define it in the bylaw or just use the W definition if it's going to stay the same.
Oh, okay.
Is this the WPA definition?
It's almost identical, yeah.
I think what's unique here is that it protects the species regardless of whether the site they occur in has been previously identified by the division.
Mhm.
So,
That's new language.
yes, so it's protecting the same species, but not like, it doesn't have to be priority habitat in Wakefield.
Okay.
That's the way I'm
Right.
reading it.
Yeah, well, then that makes sense to me. It seems
Yeah.
like we ought to be able to protect rare species regardless of whether the habitat has been defined as priority.
Mm-hmm.
I think the
So,
WPA has that. I think the change was the bylaw says the site, whereas the W says the species. I'm pretty sure it's protected either way once you identify it as a rare species, whether it was identified previously.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
No,
let's
we have
hold on
experience with
that
that.
one then,
Yeah, I don't.
because I'd like to look at that language in the WPA.
Okay.
Let's come back to that one.
Okay.
And you're suggesting Bill's resource area values below. You like that, Eleanor?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. Don't have an issue with it. So let's take it in. Vernal pool shall mean,
I think he's just separating vernal pool from vernal pool habitat.
yes, he is. And I agree with that approach, actually.
Okay. Okay.
So we've now broken 8 into 2 pieces.
Yep.
And I think we can do that.
Okay.
So let's accept those.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so saying suggest removing it and using a volume. I think Bill did bring this up. I think it comes up in a couple of places. The idea that we don't have an adequate definition of like the border of the pool itself. I think he doesn't like what we have currently. And I think he has the suggested language, which refers to the average high water mark.
Oh, it looked like he added language. The mean annual high water line.
Yeah. I'll leave this here for now because I do think the language is further below.
Okay, let's move through it. But I think in general, this language works here.
Okay. So this is one not occurring in existing lawns, gardens, landscaped areas, or driveways. We have, I think, talked about a fair amount. We did get some additional comments back on this. I think that, there's an argument that essentially exempting this has the potential to, lead to flooding issues, which is a big part of why we want to protect isolated wetlands. Oh, you're muted, Ellen.
But
But this is in relation to
this is
vernal
vernal
pool.
pools. We're not talking about regulation otherwise. We're talking about whether a vernal pool can occur in existing lawns, gardens, landscaped areas, or driveways. And I would argue, no, it can't.
Yeah.
Oh, why not?
I don't see that a vernal pool with the need
Oh.
for breeding habitat for amphibians and reptiles or other communities, insect communities, can exist in a lawn
Yeah.
or garden or landscaped area.
I think that's more likely, that sort of scenario is more likely to be isolated land subject to flooding,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which we can talk about whether that needs a buffer or not.
Okay.
So I was okay with his changes that he did in 8 and 9.
Okay, here it is, the mean annual high water line of the vernal pool. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense as a
Yeah.
100 feet of the mean annual high water line of the vernal pool. That makes sense to me. So let's stay with that.
Mm-hmm. We can get rid of the and exceptions, I guess. I don't feel strongly about it.
Okay.
Wait, which part?
Oh, sorry,
In the heading.
section 4.
In section 4, just accept that deletion of and exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
In the header, yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
Emergency projects.
Tom had a capital S, bylaw. I think we could maybe address his concern here on the emergency projects by just deleting the and the commission. So, because the emergency project is the exemption under the Wetlands Protection Act. So I think we want to make it clear that we are granting the same exemptions. So I would just say for emergency project, let's see, the only part,
You want to leave in the language about the commissioner?
yes, and just delete the last part.
the commission.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, can you?
So
So-
she's accept. Go ahead, Eleanor.
So let's reject his change for now. Okay, and then I think I would just delete the part after where it says the Commission of the Department of Environmental Protection, parentheses, the DEP, and then delete.
Start after that paren.
Yeah, just it could be a period there at the after DEP.
I think with his initial comment, it was because we want to change the way that a project is certified. I think the way the WPA has it, it covers the way it's done. So by saying the commissioner of the DEP, it's just
Okay.
making it a
So-
little more complicated.
Can we just, so let's delete that. We can revise that language then. But just delete this last part for now and the one you have, okay. And then instead of saying by the commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection, we can just refer to the WPA.
Certified to be an emergency under the terms of the Wetland Protection Act.
Yeah, any project, instead of certified, maybe just say deemed.
Yeah, I think that was the issue with this, was that there is not really a certification that doesn't actually exist. It's more like an attestation.
Mhm.
Okay, so deemed is a better term. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Project shall be any project that qualifies as an emergency. Qualifying as an emergency, which basically means refer to the WPA, because it's not
Yeah.
really being deemed or.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Shall mean any project qualifying as an emergency
Under
according to, we can refer to the section of the Wetlands Protection Act or just the Wetlands Protection Act. Ethan, do you think that will address his concerns?
Yes, in the WPA, they call it emergencies. So I think that directs it to the right spot.
Okay.
Okay, in no case shall any removal, filling, dredging, or alteration be authorized by.
Shall get rid of the
Because of
because
such.
of the such certification and go back to because of such
Yeah.
an emergency. That works. Yes. Public project exemptions. Okay.
Let's, okay. Come back to this one because I think his concern is that he's not going to get the same exemptions that are under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Mhm.
So I think we can rework this and kind of shorten it and refer back to the Wetlands Protection Act.
Right.
If we have it open, I think I was just looking at that too. I don't know why I can't open my. Yeah, it kind of covers all those same things, and maybe
Mhm.
a simple, like it's not even calling it a public project exemption. We'll come back to it, and I found the language, and so we can come back and look at that a little more carefully.
All right.
It's in 10.02.
Okay, I'll skip ahead. Do we want to just
Actually-
bypass this whole section?
I know I put this in for him, and he doesn't like it. I mean, honestly, I think we can bullet probably the exemptions that are outlined in the Wetlands Protection Act and kind of replace this section.
Okay.
And I think I mean, he's added the 50 feet and stuff, so I do think what he has here, I'm pretty good with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what he added looks like the same as the WPA in the yellow right there.
Do they mention the 50 feet? No heavy equipment stockpiling within 50 feet of resource areas?
That's part of that number one exemption. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I think, okay. Yeah, it's just got this addition. Okay, within the vernal pool habitat. Okay.
Honestly, I like his changes here, so
Well, it's pretty concise and
Mhm.
specific.
Oh yeah. So sorry, E. Um,
E,
10.022B1E. The conversion of lawn and then the stockpiling 50 feet within the mean annual high water line.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's copy paste from the WPA.
no.
Looks like it covers the same ideas. It just edits it to fit the bylaw and the 25-foot setback that we have.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Fencing around existing vegetable gardens that it's okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't have any specific issues with any of these. Okay, so do we want to go ahead and accept this section?
And the fencing around existing vegetable gardens, that is, well, a question on the last one, 8, fencing
Mhm.
around vegetable gardens, what, flush with what? Flush with the ground level?
That seems to be the case.
But why would you have fencing that was only flush with the ground level? I mean, that makes no sense.
Okay.
I think fences that have a gap underneath are more exempt
That's what
because it
they should
allows.
have.
What's that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although the problem is on a vegetable garden, you do not want a gap at the bottom, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Existing
saying,
vegetable gardens, we shouldn't be messing with.
Yeah. I don't know that it's necessary because it would be in a lawn area. You know what I mean?
Potentially.
Like it would have been grandfathered in as a, you know,
yeah. So usually the fences are exempt because they have a gap at the bottom, but in this case, there's even though it's flush with the ground, it's exempt if it's
Mhm.
used
Yes.
for a garden.
All right.
Mhm.
Do we even
Or
need
being
it?
buried below ground, because you do have things like woodchucks which tunnel and will go under a flush fence. So that's what the language is allowing, is essentially dealing with allowing fencing around existing vegetable gardens to be flush with, whose bottom is flush with the ground or below ground.
I think I'm fine with leaving it in. It just may save someone some time or a call to the commission.
Right.
Just make it clearer to the reader.
I would suggest we modify the language slightly to say fencing around existing vegetable gardens whose bottom is flush with or below the ground level.
Okay. Oops.
Whose bottom edge.
The bottom edge is flush
Yes.
with.
Yes, that you got it. Thank you, Jennifer.
And the only one there, 7, I just would put is confirmed by the Conservation Commission, and then that gives us a little more latitude for how we want to deal with it.
Either the
The
commission or
removal of
agent.
dead and dying trees.
And remove the certified arborist.
Um,
That would change a bit from what we do now. Usually that's just done by myself.
yeah.
So adding the commission would mean it would have to be all going to you guys if this were through.
It's how we used to do it. The agent would present the trees that were being requested to be removed.
Yeah, it could go either way. If you write
Okay.
it into this, then it would have to go to you guys, unless you had a waiver for that reason.
No, a commission is broad enough that we can delegate it to you,
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
We want to change this to
For 7, just as confirmed by the Conservation Commission, or just instead of agent on number 7, I would just put commission. And do we need certified arborists? Like sometimes it's pretty obvious a tree is dead.
right. I mean, we could always say we're not sure. Please
Yeah.
retain a arborist.
Need to go to the commission though if it's a dead tree.
Oh yeah, we do because of the wildlife value. Thank you, Judy. Okay. But what about arborists? Have you guys always required arborists, Judy?
It was never a strict requirement. It's usually part of it, but I would say just leave it out just so there's some cases that you don't need there to be an arborist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. 9 looks okay to me.
My question is with the removal of dead and dying trees, if it's dead trees, why would someone have to wait until a commission hearing to take it down? Why couldn't the agent just go out and say it's visibly dead and do an administrative approval, which is allowed under the tree removal plan?
They can. For the bylaw, I just wanted to make it commission, not.
Right, but then that means it has to go to the commission. There's no.
No, we
I think
can
you want to
delegate
say
it. We
either the
did.
commission or agent, Eleanor.
Right,
Yeah.
but to
Okay.
delegate it, you'd have to do that at a meeting.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Commission or agent. Okay. So
Yeah. At the end of 7. Yes. Capital A agent. Say?
You were breaking up there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Do we want to accept this now? Do we want to keep this active to come back to?
Let's accept it now.
I'm fine.
hmm
And what about 9?
That seemed like it was accepted. Mm, Yeah, that was.
I
seemed to be
didn't see any
fine.
issues with that.
hmm
Okay. 10, maintenance activities for stormwater conveyance and maintenance systems.
Yep.
It looks all right to me.
hmm
Okay.
So now we're into 5.
Yeah. Okay. This is making it explicit that there's a requirement to get a permit under the bylaw.
Yes.
Just trying to resolve this. Okay. So we'll accept this.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so
I did have one,
Mhm.
comment on that section A. Did we want to include some language saying that we would use the same DEP forms? Because we're not expecting applicants to submit 2 different sets of permitting applications. There is a section on the forms that where you just check local bylaw.
Yeah, I think maybe that might be something we specify in the regs.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this section here was pointed out to, conflict with 6A about what the fees are. Here it says the filing fee will be the same as for the NOI, but then later it says that the fees will be determined by the commission, taking into account the WPA, so. And I think NOI might also be too restrictive, so I think we should just take this out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think in section E, it was just the typo, the capitalized bylaw.
Right. And then Ethan had a question about this section.
Yeah, that was more about the fees. We talked about the NOIs, but ANRADs could be a little more complicated if you're replicating the WPA fees, but then it's also considering if you're adding more resources, how you're going to, how you're going to find the cost for that. It might not be as simple as saying you would replicate the WPA if you're also adding like the isolated wetland or an additional resource. So
I thought it was calculated like by linear foot.
it is, but with the Wetlands Protection Act, it's a linear foot of those jurisdictional resources. So you might need to specify if you want to keep the same way, but for these new resources, also calculating that by the linear foot and whether or not you want to add that on top of the fees.
So are the fees the same if you're delineating riverfront area versus a wetland?
Yes, but I'm more thinking of if you have a BVW and like an isolated wetland that you made jurisdictional with the bylaw, are you just having the fee for that BVW or are you combining the two fees? because you wouldn't delineate the isolated wetland if you don't have to right now.
So I'm kind of curious about that because we had the big project, NEMT, and there were like 10 different wetlands, some isolated, some vernal pool, some bordering, and all of those were part of the ANRAD.
Right, but
I just don't know how that was priced
those
out.
come on, yeah, but those come under the state jurisdiction.
They're small small isolated wetlands that were not protected, but they were still delineated. So I don't know how that they would be protected.
You would usually count those as well, like you're saying, but if you're defining like pond area or the land inundated by surface water, the kind of newer resources that might not have been with the WPA.
Well, I think for a combined application, didn't we say that we don't want to add any any additional
That's right.
fees under a
Mhm.
That's right.
combined application?
Yes,
So I think this ANRAD question would only apply to an application that's only under the bylaw.
Mhm.
yes,
It was, or if you had like where you have in the jurisdictional section a ponding area of any size, that might be like a new resource on top of the
Yeah.
resources.
Well, I think we're going to come back to that minimum size question again, I think. But I mean, my thought is, it uses up resources and therefore we probably should. And I think we could adopt, I looked at the WPA, they do cap it at 200 for a single family home, 2,000 for anything else. I mean,
Yeah, we could just follow the same
yeah.
I think
fee
we should.
structure. Mhm.
And it's only for fees for projects to which only the bylaw applies.
Right.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
suggest we use exactly the same fee structure. I don't think we want to try to reinvent it.
Mm-mm.
That doesn't belong here anyway, does it?
It would
It's in
be somewhere,
section
probably
6
a different
fees,
section. Yeah.
Mhm.
next section. So let's finish section 5.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we are still in section 5. This is section 5.
Yes.
Um,
So
but Paul, are you saying that this should actually be moved?
No, this is appropriate. This is not a
Okay,
fee
gotcha.
issue here.
That's not a fee
Mhm.
issue. Okay. Um, okay, so we'll go ahead and accept that. Okay. Okay, so I think, Tom Mullen recommended taking this out.
Mhm. So I think that was added by Bill, but Tom.
Well, let me see, yeah. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, he
Okay.
recommends not including it because they already have that 21-day limit. So you don't
Mm.
want to change that at all.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So are we okay with accepting this?
Um,
I am.
yeah.
Okay. So then we're gonna reject that addition.
Oh.
It's just a
Only
comment.
G, not H.
Yeah. Okay, we're
Mhm.
gonna reject that. Oh, shoot. Let's do it this way.
And just we lost H too, didn't we?
No, this is now, H is now
G.
Oh,
G.
okay, fine. Thank you. Yep, I see it. And that should be there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should it be stronger than may combine or that's okay.
I'm fine with will.
Or shall.
I'd say maybe keeping it as may just to protect the cases that's only under the by.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Thank you.
Happens.
You know, instead of such fees shall be based on reasonable estimates of the cost for the commission down in 6. Should we be considering such fees shall be consistent with the fees applicable under the Wetlands Protection Act? Bylaw does not have a hyphen. Where your cursor is there, Jennifer, you can take out that hyphen too. Yeah. I mean, would it be appropriate to, if we're saying that we're going to keep the fees consistent with the WPA, should we say that here instead of this reasonable estimate of the actual cost?
Yeah. Like,
This is
Fee
saying that
schedule shall be consistent with the fees imposed on projects under the Wetland Protection Act.
Yeah, and
yeah, this
we just want to make sure that we say that we're extending them to the new resource areas, but something about the fee structure being the same.
Mm-hmm.
this part was giving you the authorization to adopt fees. This is like
Mhm.
specifying the fees itself. So
Yeah, I mean, fees were something that we talked about specifying the fees was something we talked about putting in the regs.
mhm.
yeah, this would be additional fees, I think is referring to. Not just the ones that are consistent with the WPA, but if you
Mhm.
wanted to add down the line.
Yeah, we definitely need this section, but I guess the question, do we need to specify the fees here or do we specify the fees in the regs?
I would put them in the regs.
We better come up with them quickly though.
Uh,
That's fine with me. I don't disagree, but they also need to be presented at the same town meeting, don't they?
Yeah.
mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. That's fine.
So we're going to get rid of the such fees may be based on a reasonable estimate. Or we'll come back and think of the language.
Yeah. You know, we're going to run out of time today to do that.
Okay.
We'll come back to this. I'm just gonna accept this because I think at least we've talked through what we want to
Mhm.
Yeah.
do.
Okay. So next,
I liked what he did for section B, factors.
Yeah.
okay, I see that basically we took the first sentence and moved it down.
Mhm.
That works for me.
Yeah, that's good change.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
C, denial. I think these are good changes.
Yes.
And we're not gonna be,
We don't have design specifications.
yeah, right, and we're not gonna be creating any.
Right. So we'll accept that change.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
So
So
I think this actually got moved to a different part of, I think this got addressed later on under the performance standards. Um,
yeah, let's go down and look at those. Keep on
okay.
going
Yep.
down.
We have a question about replication. Um,
I liked his performance standards section he added, D. Mhm. Instead of setback, it
mhm,
makes it more clear.
Yeah.
And I liked his
mhm.
change in paragraph 2.
The 25-foot no disturb.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody mute?
Okay, so we can take out this because we refer to section 2A.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so I'm okay with these changes here.
Mhm.
I'm still looking back at the delete part. Um, so I'll go ahead and accept these small changes to this. Actually, let's see what I just. Yeah, I'm kind of just looking at the fact. Let me also look at my notes.
I don't think we need rebuttable assumptions on the no disturb.
I'd agree. I think it's acceptable to just delete that whole thing.
Okay, so it's not, does that mean that it's not rebuttable? Or that they would apply for a waiver?
Yeah,
You
we
think
would
it's
say
rebuttable?
alternatively, the commission may waive all or portions of a setback if it determines the applicant satisfies the waiver requirements.
See, okay. Okay. All right. I believe this section is written, this section on vernal pools is written as though there's not a presumption of a vernal pool habit, vernal pool.
Hmm.
And I think that is maybe one of the bigger questions, because I do think, I guess Bill's preference is to not have a presumption. I guess he expressed that.
So is he saying a vernal pool has to be certified by the state?
That's the way it looks in the current wording here.
All right, well, let's highlight that.
I think this part is also looking at the difference between vernal pool and vernal pool habitat and just making sure they don't conflict too much with each other.
Mhm.
Okay, so
I think he's making clear too that there's not like 100-foot buffer to a vernal pool habitat.
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with taking out this language about a vernal pool from the vernal pool habitat section.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so here he is referring to the presumption of the vernal pool habitat. Well, okay.
I think he's still fine with the presumption being there. It's just that I don't want every isolated wetland to be presumed a vernal pool unless you have more like factors that point to that being true. Because it would be on the applicant to overcome that presumption. So the more you make the presumption, the more work it is for them
Right.
to have to overcome that.
Right. Well, I think we definitely don't want to presume that like every isolated land subject to flooding is a vernal pool.
Agreed. That would be a bad result.
Yes. So what's he suggesting? Let's see. Why don't we come back to that? I think I'm okay with the changes he's suggesting, but I want to work in the something that indicates that it's like an uncertified vernal pool.
Sorry, what was that last part, Eleanor?
I just want to make sure we work in some protective language for the uncertified vernal pool. You're using the same standards.
We've got a
But
presumption of vernal pool habitat, right?
Yes.
So if there's a presumption,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be certified. You need a certification if there's some kind of contesting of that definition of habitat.
Okay.
The language here, the
All right, folks,
presumption.
I'm going to have to jump in 15 minutes. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the language here, the presumption of the habitat may be overcome with presentation of credible evidence, which in the judgment of the commission demonstrates that the body does not or cannot provide the habitat. Oh, okay, following the guidelines of the certification criteria. Any formal evaluation should be performed by a wildlife specialist. So initially it starts off sounding like the resident could just provide their own evidence. And then is a formal evaluation required?
Yeah, they would need a formal evaluation done to overcome the presumption. That's how I'm
I
reading it.
suggest we change the word should in that after formal evaluation to shall.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would resolve that.
By a wildlife specialist. Here, between by and wildlife there. A. Yes. Thank you.
Should we say a formal evaluation? Because any makes it sound like it's
A formal
possible.
evaluation. Yeah.
It does in the line before it, the commission evaluate it in their judgment. So that would be like the informal evaluation.
Okay, I see, yeah. Well, yeah.
But either
Okay.
work.
So I guess this means that the commission can decide on its own or can require a formal evaluation, in which case it has to be done by a wildlife specialist. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Are you all okay with it setting it up that way?
Yep.
Paul?
Yes, I am. I agree. So then I think we can accept that deletion below
On section 5, yeah.
that.
Okay. I was okay with the riverfront performance standard. Um, I think Bill had also suggested taking riverfront out. But if we leave it in, I think it makes sense to have this.
Yeah.
And it does make clear that there's not a 400-foot buffer
Hmm.
on a riverfront. Maybe we should, before Paul runs out of time, do we want
Yeah.
to decide before our next Concom meeting about a next meeting date?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on page 9 out of 12 here.
Yep.
Okay.
And by the way, I don't think under the Wetlands Protection Act, it's required to have staff present when the conservation commissioners meet, because some towns don't have staff. So if the weekend issue is an issue because of Zoom, we could meet in person and record it. I'm not sure, but and produce our own minutes.
I don't think you can do that.
Okay. I'm not available next weekend because I'm traveling.
Well, what about another evening during the week?
This week, I can't do it. Let me see. Oh, I guess we're running out of time. Are you guys available Wednesday evening?
Wednesday's my bad night this week. We've got a commission meeting Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm also booked in the evening. Thursday's okay.
Let's see. Hang on, I'm just double checking.
I could do Thursday if it were 7 or later.
Okay, I'll make that work if that works for you guys.
Okay, then let's plan for that.
7 p.m. Thursday.
Sure.
Thursday the 5th, 7.
Putting it in now.
Okay. Judy, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, should we quickly just go through and accept or the rest of his?
Yeah, let's go through them quickly. Get it done.
Okay.
I can
Stormwater.
give you another 7 minutes.
Okay. Stormwater
Hey,
review is okay with stormwater review.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
you don't need to duplicate the 6 though.
I'm not sure what you mean.
There's a 6 over there in the far left
Oh, we'll
margin,
fix
and then
that later. That's okay.
yeah, just there, you got it.
Okay.
All right. Then the presumption of vernal pool habitat we've already dealt with. And overcoming the presumption, we've done both of those up above in the vernal pool, so I don't think we need either of those. So we can accept those deletions. Waiver,
Ooh.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure how to understand this part. The hardship is not one created by the applicant themselves. And will not result in any harm to the value. So,
well, it could be a situation where someone has done something that has created a hardship
mhm.
Like
and
they filled a wetland.
built a house on it
Mhm.
or built a structure on it, and now they're claiming, well, it's a hardship for me because I can't take that structure out. Well, you did it in violation of the bylaw.
It could also be if you get like closer than the setback,
Mhm.
previously.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what if something was built on a wetland? I mean, I guess I guess the commission can grant the waiver or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
No
mean,
one's entitled to it.
I think it's good language to have, actually.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And I think I mean, the waiver does require submitting the application, but so
Yes.
what does it do? Does it just save the fees at the end of the day and further process? Um,
I think you would just provide enough information that you could make a decision on the waiver. It might not be a whole plan set and things like that,
Right.
meaning it wouldn't end up in an order of conditions either.
I think these are going to be very rare
Yeah.
circumstances.
okay. So we're good with this
I-
language then?
Yep.
Yeah, I like the language, actually. I think it's
Mhm.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Although himself may need to be him or herself in 2.
Or you could just say by the applicant and end it there.
There we go.
Yep. Yes, thanks. Good thought. Okay. 5 minutes.
Okay, these are from Linfield. All right. A revocation of permit as written the commission. Okay, so that's parameters.
Failure.
Yeah, I was fine with these.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's just adding, like he says, adding parameters that will
Yep.
get the permit revoked instead of just.
Yes.
I think that's helpful.
Instead of making it open-ended, I think it's clear, clarifies it. I think that's good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this comes back to the regulations question, which I think we're going to talk about more.
I think he's addressed the performance standards up above. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
What do you mean?
Well, what he's saying is that the policy detail should not be in the rules and regulations, and the rules and regulations should be about submittal requirements and fees. And I think we agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with that. We've essentially put the performance standards in the bylaw itself,
Yes.
right, with his edits here. So I think we're accomplishing what we need to put him at ease.
Yeah.
Do you-
I mean, I think if I understand, I don't know that his comment really says this here, but I mean, I think the main request was that we not promulgate new performance standards
Okay.
in the regulations is sort of the key. Most
Yeah,
important.
I think, and that's reasonable among other things, because I think if we try to promulgate regulations that do something sort of beyond the setting of fees and forms, we're going to have some run afoul of concerns that we're bypassing town meeting
Yeah.
by creating policies outside of that. And I don't think that's a good thing to do. So,
Okay.
No,
I'll
like
just-
we're not going to change. Yeah.
okay.
I'll
And then
just
the
leave.
last thing is that, okay, so we're going to, that's correct. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so I will send these to the commission, Ethan.
Yeah.
Mm,
So just something for us to think about as we go away. I think the big issue is jurisdiction, section 2. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering if we can just address Bill's concerns by lining it up with the Wetlands Protection Act and using the same terminology, like,
I
you know,
would just ask then if Ethan could send us a copy of the jurisdictional component of the WPA.
Yep.
bordering land subject to flooding, isolated land, you know, using those same terms.
Let's just look at it
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and we'll deal with it either in our Tuesday
Yeah.
meeting if we have time, or in the meeting, the next
Thursday.
meeting after that, Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then can we circulate the regulations that we have? That
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. Do you want to close the meeting, Paul?
I'll make a
Thank you
motion
all.
to close the meeting.
Okay. Well, I think, yes, we need
Okay.
okay. Thank you, Eleanor. And a second. Jen?
Second.
All right. All in favor, Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The meeting is closed and we will meet again on Tuesday in our regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.